Going live, going live, going live. We are live. We are live, folks. Welcome to the studio. I'm your host, Nicholas Barnett, and this is my studio. And by studio, I just mean a space in which I try to work as much as I can. And actually, for maybe, well, not the first time, but for the first time in a while, we have a pretty big update in terms of the. Hey, Kara Lee, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I have something to tell you. We have some pretty big changes to the studio. So there's a lot to tell you. Uh, we might not even get around to working on the mallet today because we've just got a lot to talk about and a lot to do. So yeah, welcome. I'm glad you're here. So basically, the biggest change in the studio this week is well. Maybe I should just show you. Maybe I'll just show you. We have a new piece of furniture, and you may ask yourself, "Wow, that looks like it's just leaning against the wall," and you'd be part right. Made it. we got. There's a long story as to how this furniture got made. So I'll tell you that story. So once upon a time, there was a guy named Nicholas Barnett, and he had dreams of filling this entire room, all of the wall space, with organizational space. So like, well, that's sometimes in some cases that's drawers, in some cases that's cubby holes, in some places that's shelves or racks where tools can be hung. But that's the plan for all the wall space in here. Well, which means, but I also don't want to spend much money on it. So I haven't been like buying lumber. I could go to the store, buy lumber, and just build it in a day. But instead, I've just kind of been collecting a little bit here and there. Well, so I collected these big. Well, they're not big, but these 2x6s. They're probably actually less than 2 inches wide. They're not the normal standard size, but these 2x6s, which were a bed. They were like a twin size bed, maybe. Oh, it was probably bigger than a twin. Might have been a double or full size. And so I brought home this bed from the side of the road, and I've had it with my scrap metal and the Honda Accord Monster Mobile in the back here. And apparently one of our neighbors must have called the police on us because we got so for a week or two there was this police officer who will go unnamed even though I have his name on the record, uh, wherever the piece of paper is, the official warning. But it's in the filing cabinet. But anyway, yeah, he had been watching our house to see if we would drive that car, which currently is uninsured. It is unlicensed. Like it's not. It's not a functioning car right now. I don't drive it around. It's not my daily driver anymore. I've stopped driving it at all. And the reason is because there's a few more things I need to do with it in order to make it legal here in Texas. And I'm not going to try to get it like licensed in Texas and run the risk of it failing until I know how and to do that. Like that's the reality. Its primary purpose at this stage in my life is probably for the Halloween festival that they do here. There's like a car show involved in that, and I'd like to enter it in that car show. So its main use is like as a community, fun thing. So I'm not driving around. I'm not using it to go camping. So anyway, so it's not doing anything. I've got some things I need to fix on it before I can even think about trying to drive it on the road or take it to like getting it licensed and stuff. So, but anyway, he came around and saw it in our backyard. And well, I shouldn't say our backyard, in our back driveway. And because we have 2 spots according to our lease that we can park in that are our parking spots, and it was parked in one of our parking spots. And he came back here and wrote us not a ticket but a warning saying we had 10 days. and it on that it cited three things. One, car had to be um, one was the car, one was the pile of junk, as he called it, and then what was the third thing? Oh, and then the third thing was that the car was parked in illegal parking, which it's not. It's on the lease. It has gravel under it, so obviously it's not like it's clearly a parking space. So he's clearly making things up just in order to feel like he's you know actually doing something legitimate. But anyway, so I was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna mess around with getting in trouble over this car. So we got rid of it the next day. We got rid of the car. We filled it with all the scrap metal. Got rid of the car. So that part of it is dealt with. Part of the problem, though, is that also our landlord owns a bunch of the junk. Like the reason I thought I could store my scrap metal there was because there's a bunch of junk that belongs to our landlord, an old door and some like old timbers and stuff, and like an old fence that they must have torn down to build the nice fence that we have. So anyway, the point being, uh, uh, well, when I did that, one of the things that I was storing with my scrap metal was this wood, and I also had these these are probably like 2x10s or something like that, 2x12s. Something I don't know what size lumber is. But anyway, so then I had these, so I made these shelves, and then I had this thing which used to be our shoe rack. Yeah, until we got a nice new shoe rack that has more shelves for all of our shoes because we have a lot of boots that are just too big for something like this. So I got the shoe rack put on here, so here, let me give you a tour of the new shelf. I know that sounds a little weird, but I'm just really excited about it because I made it myself. And I was waiting until I could get another set of beams so that it would have like four corners, obviously, because whose furniture doesn't want four corners? But I was like, well, if I have to do it right now in order to get rid of all this, like clean up all this stuff, then I'll just use the one, and we can and so what I did was I leaned it up against the wall and then screwed in all the shelves to hold it together, and it's heavy enough that it'd be pretty hard to knock it over. I tried to knock it over myself, but I couldn't actually do it. Um, so anyway, down at the bottom, you see down here we have the printer, and it's all hooked up. We have the filing cabinet, and then just enough room so it snugly slides under here. We have the first shelf, which has, it has the router. This box just fits here. My phone, but the important part is it also houses all the cords and all that stuff. So we've got a lot of the electrical stuff that's down on that level, and then we've got two different types of battery packs. We've got Ryobi and Craftsman, and then I've got my Ryobi and my Craftsman right here, which conveniently they fit right onto the end of this thing. And then we have this big tub, which is a bunch of stuff I need to go through. And whoa, we need to switch sides. We have this big tub, which is a bunch of stuff that I just need to organize. It's like every time that I've moved for the past 6 or 7 years, there's at the end of moving, there's a bunch of junk that didn't have a place to go, and I would just throw it in a bag. Dad's here. David Barnett, welcome. Hey, I'm glad you're here. Oh man, that means I'm on a big screen. I'm on a real big screen. That's cool. Hey, Dad. So I built this big shelf here, and so far I was just telling. We've got printer down here, filing cabinet. We've got all of the electrical stuff on this level, so the router and everything. Some of my electrical tools. Then this one. So every time I move this tub, every time I move for the past, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, which I move a lot, or I have, there's always leftover stuff that just doesn't have a place. And so I've always thrown it into a garbage bag and taken it with me. Well, oh, hey, Mom's here too. Hey, Mom. Jill Borg is on. Hey, guys, she says. Then I take that bag with me. I put a bunch of junk in it. And, each time I move, that bag gets a bit more junk. Most of it's paperwork that I didn't want to have to do anything with. A lot of it is just random stuff. So I don't even know how much of it is what, but it's a whole bunch of random stuff. I'm not looking forward to organizing it, but now I have it right next to my head. So anytime I'm in here being productive, it's glaring me in the face saying, "Hey, you need to go through this and get all this organized." So a lot of it, when I go through it and organize it, a lot of it is probably going to end up in the filing cabinet. A lot of it will probably get thrown away. That's the truth. So, because yeah, and I have a lot of paperwork, important paperwork, like my birth certificate and my social security card, that are both missing. So, oh, damn. So, yeah, most of it should be trashed because it's probably outdated. But fingers crossed, there's a few important things that are hopefully in there that I need to find. So, in order to get my Texas driver's license, so because it's big pain in the butt to get it without those things. So, and then above that, we have one of the lights. There we have this one, which is full of office supplies, so stuff that I use out here. And as I eventually find places to organize and put all those things, I will hopefully empty that one out as well. Then we have my actual office, which is everything I need in order to be productive with an office. In this thing, this is my sewing stuff, a sewing kit. So whenever I get around to doing a sewing project, basically whenever I finish the mallet, the next project will probably be some sort of sewing project, which will probably not take nearly as long as the mallet has. And so it'll be a smaller, easier project. But anyway, we'll do one of those. And I've got a whole bunch of projects in here. It's a small box, but I've got a lot. And then we've got a cutting board over here, which is one of the wood projects I'd like to do. It's an old cutting board and it needs to be restored. So I'm gonna take that one under my wing. And then this top one is the Luna box. So we pull stuff out of this every once in a while. So it was annoying that we had it like deep in the recesses of the closet. So now it's out here where we can relatively easily grab it, pull it off, and do stuff with it. So yeah, there it is, the whole thing. And it's not super convenient for where the table is because I have the vise right up next to it. So I'm thinking that the table's actually going to switch corners from this corner over to this corner where all the gifts are. Not today, probably, but I'd say probably within a week or so. Probably before the next video. And then, as you can see, my table is covered in stuff, and I hate it when my table is covered in stuff because I don't get anything done when it's covered in stuff because I sit down and I just feel cluttered. So, and then we have a bunch of things that don't belong in here that need to go back out to the car, and we've got a bunch of books and tools and gifts that still haven't found a home. So those all need to find a home. Yeah, major progress. Hopefully less moving in the future. Yes, that's the plan. Hopefully we'll be here a long time, but I suspect we'll still move from one house to another, just in the same community, in the next few years as we expand, because we're renting here and we would really like to own something. But yeah, still a lot of progress, and hopefully, yeah, I won't be doing nearly as much moving in the future. So hopefully the progress we're making will actually be like permanent progress. So anyway, and this, at some point I'll redo this piece of furniture and build it better. We have two bedrooms in our apartment. One of them is the studio, one of them is our bedroom. But yeah, so if we have kids anytime soon, then they will obviously be getting the studio instead. So I'll be kicked out. That's not the right way to put it, but you know what I mean. So yeah. Then the floor is covered in camping supplies because we used a bunch of camping supplies this week. We had like a Vespers thing for some of the youth in our church, And so we had a bunch of kids here, and we had the whole backyard just full of lawn chairs. So all the lawn chairs have come back in. All of the backs are strewn across the floor in order to get the lawn chairs out. So yeah, it's quite the mess in here, and there it is not in a functional enough state for me to easily work on the mallet. So I'm thinking that I'm thinking what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this time to, because the whole point of doing this is to improve the this space, right? This is the year of the studio, trying to focus on creating a space where I can be more productive and where I do better at being productive. And so, yeah, we've got a few things to talk about, but also we've got, a whole bunch of just little things to move around. A lot of it's just a matter of putting it in a different spot. So, and I'd like to get the table cleared by the end of the video, and I'd like to get the floor walkable again. So removing a bunch of that stuff. So that's what we're gonna do today. I think this is the second time, part two of just decluttering the studio itself. Um, so and it's funny because like there's just a million little projects that go into putting things away, like because I don't want to put something away unfinished. So anytime there's something out that's not finished, it's the thing I got to do in order to put it away. So maybe this will be interesting to you. Maybe it won't. I don't know. But we do have an interesting idea. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a big dreamer. I think about dreams in the future a lot. I'm a very future-focused person in general. And it's not like I don't think I struggle with not being in the moment enough, because I think I'm a lot more in the moment than a lot of people. But I do have a tendency to think about the future a lot and to dream of ways to deal with it, and also of figuring out ways to deal with it. So, where was I going with that? I told you that for a reason, but I don't remember what it was. Yeah, but what I do remember is that this pencil is not in the right place, but the right place is not in this room, and I can't leave the room, because if I leave the room, this video is going to get super boring super fast. So, things that need to leave the room but cannot, go over here by the door. There we go. First thing accomplished. There we go. Next thing, we've got this. This is a paintbrush. We've got a little paint dish, and I think we have an unfinished painting. We do, in fact, have an unfinished painting. So I'm gonna quick finish this painting off. How about you give us a quick tour of the house, starting with front of the house? That sounds like a good idea. I think that would make for interesting content. However, you may not know this about me, Mom, but I've been a YouTuber for quite a while, off and on, at varying levels of success, and it is not actually a good idea for that to be public information. So I'm kind of gonna keep this the live stream to this room pretty much all the time for the foreseeable future. So there are exceptions to that. I do have another YouTube channel where hopefully you will get to see other places. But at least for now, I don't plan on vlogging the whole place. However, that is a good reminder that I still need to give Lisa a tour, or Mom, or Dad. I don't remember which one of you I haven't given a tour of the house to. I know I've given a tour to one of you, but I don't remember which one I haven't. So this is what it's like to be me. Oh, there's the paint. I found the paint. Don't worry, guys. I found the paint. Oh, let me show you the painting so that you have some context. Which side is the bottom? I have no idea. So we were given a task to paint a painting of the inner flame of our inner flame. They were describing like the innermost part of our being. Mom says, "Ooh, that makes sense. You can give Dad a personal tour later." Yes. Okay. Good. So it's Dad. It's Dad that I need to give the tour to. So they gave us this like prompt, like a artistic prompt, which was paint the inner flame of your soul. Okay, of your heart, the flame of your heart. I think was the phrase they used. And so that's what we did. And I have mine right here. This is what mine looks like. However, there is something ever so slightly wrong with it, which is it kind of just looks like a bunch of circles because all of these kind of like they kind of imply that they connect to each other. And so I want to kind of undo that so that it doesn't look so much like a bunch of circles. I think it looks better this way. Yeah, there we go. That looks better. Um, so I need to like kind of delineate, add a little bit more black in these outer edges so that I can make it look a little bit less. Um, um, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Organized. So who's they? Oh, Dad says he had a tour. It must be Lisa then. It's Lisa who still needs a tour. Um, who's they? Her name is Celesta, and she's from our youth group. Or is it Celeste? Celeste or Celesta? But anyway, yeah. So uh, that's who it was. It was during the little youth vespers that we had at our house, and I thought it was really fun. And if you know me very well, you know that sometimes intentionally and sometimes accidentally always take art very seriously. Um, I didn't plan on taking this art so seriously, but here I am now making my uh, fourth alteration to the painting since I started. So yeah, that's what it's like to be me. Sometimes I'm an artist because I like being an artist, and sometimes I'm an artist because I can't help it. So we'll see. Hopefully this improves the painting a bit, makes the painting a bit better. And who knows? Maybe you guys will enjoy seeing me paint or watching me paint. What do I know? I don't know anything. So so there's also more going on in my life because I just have a million ideas, you guys. I don't know if you knew this about me, but I have just a million ideas all the time. And some of the ideas I have right now revolve around finding a different uh, way of making money because my current way of making money, being a professional gardener, that's what I do for a living, is a lot of fun. I enjoy it. I get a lot of satisfaction from it. I think the people that I work with are awesome. I really do love the work environment and the people that I work with. However, however, the reality is I get poison ivy at this job all the time, and there are and when I have poison ivy, I do not want to spread that poison ivy to wonderful people like Erica, and because there are, and so um, yeah, getting poison ivy is a bigger deal than originally anticipated, and so uh, I don't want to have to work at a job where I get poison ivy all the time, and so I'm trying to think of other ideas, and I have come up with a few. Some I have pursued more than others, but Yeah. Basically, I have two ideas right now that are floating around in my head, and like I said, I have a million ideas, new ideas every week, and ideas come and go like the wind. I mean, I'm not the sort of person that tends to stick to an idea even if it's not good. like, uh, it's not hard. I don't have trouble letting go of my ideas. If I have an idea, uh, it may it may work or it may not, and I'm not super emotionally attached one way or the other to my ideas. That I think is a pretty good improvement. We've still got a little bit of definition of some of the circles, but even this circle, like it doesn't define what the shape is because we've got two different shapes for its intersection, and these ones we've basically completely gotten rid of that outer ring, which I like, and we just have this one that has the hook, so that still kind of gives you the idea of what's going on. That these are cracks, but without implying that they all have a uniform crack to them. Closer, please, Mom says. There you go. The inner flame of my heart. So, and then we got a Sharpie here. We'll quick label it um, on the back. Make sure it's right side up. I've done this so many times where I wrote on it not right side up. Nicholas Barnett. And then my normal signature, which will also be on the front. I'll do it in white later. But I'll do it here too, just to prove that it's all the same person. And then, what's the date today? It's 5/17/22. And it took me approximately there we go, 3 hours, I guess. And then, yeah. So once that dries, then I'll put my final signature on it with white paint, assuming I can find any white paint. Who even knows? Because I think they only left us the black paint behind because she knew that's what I was using. And then the rest of this is now ready to leave the room. So that's where this is gonna go. There we go. Okay, I'm back. Whew. So there we go. That's kind of what it's like. Now we have this, which is just sandpaper, which we're saving for this guy. I need to sand the shim before I actually, or wedge before I actually put it in. But let's put it out of the way where it belongs, over here in the corner. And then these screws need to go back to where screws belong, which is out in the shed. And then let's start on this space underneath of us. Basically, underneath of us is where all the camping supplies get stored, and it's all pulled out onto the floor because I had to pull stuff out from the back of the thing. Work ideas, 2 options stirring in your mind. Oh, thank you for bringing me back on topic. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, because I got caught up in this. So the 2 ideas. One idea is relatively simple. The other idea, extremely complex. One idea, I think, will help me in my what I believe is my calling. Yeah, was afraid it was a cliffhanger. No, not meant to be. Sorry. One idea is I think will help me get closer to fulfilling my calling in life and my sense of purpose and the things I enjoy, and also be responsible. The other thing doesn't really feed that probably because this thing is likely to absolutely consume my time, take up, remove all of the hobbies from my life, and completely consume all of my time and my entire lifestyle. But the upside is, I do think it would be a really worthwhile ministry to help my community. And I think my community as a whole would benefit significantly, even though I think, in terms of lifestyle, would be making some pretty big sacrifices in order to make it happen. So here's the two ideas. On this side, I'm curious about becoming a real estate agent. The reason why I say that I think will help me fulfill my calling is because at this stage in life, at least for me, it seems like and feels like my primary calling is to be a writer. And I think being a real estate agent would afford me the time to be able to spend my mornings writing every single day, which, in terms of lifestyle, that is the best possible lifestyle. I think it also affords me the flexibility to potentially help in the child raising. So raising kids, being a stay-at-home dad a lot of the time could really benefit the lifestyle that we want, just to have a bunch of kids. Uh, so, and I think it could potentially make enough money to really contribute to paying for a more expensive life, and by that I mean kids. So, and then the other side is, I since we've lived here, so we Erica works for the biggest church in the area, called uh, well, it might not be the biggest church in the area, but it's the biggest English speaking church in the area, the Keene Church, Seventh Adventist Church, and it's a great church. There's a lot going for it. I think in the long run, it'll be a good church for our kids to grow up in. However, it's a very clean cut. You know, it's a church full of good people. Like, that's the problem. That's part of its problem. Is it it attracts the kinds of people that do not get along with the social outcasts. It attracts the type of people that um, are not struggling. Quite simply, that's the reality of it. It attracts people that are not struggling, and so it's a church mostly full of people who are, living their best life, but not necessarily like the outcasts and the fringe people of society, or even of their own culture. So, and I think there are probably around here, at least, quite a few uh, both Adventist and non-Adventist Christians who have been alienated from their various churches just because that's what it's like when you're poor. You know what I mean? Like, um, poor people find themselves alienated a lot, and if you have to hide being poor in order to fit in at your church, then your church, then that's probably not the church for you. Does that make sense? And so it's not a critique against this church, because I do think it's a great church full of people that are trying to help other people. But also, there are people in this community who are not able to be served or reached by the type of that type of church, and that's a part of life, is that there's a wide variety of different types of churches that do serve different types of purposes and functions, and it does its job very well. Uh, but there's no way for it to really reach the people who leave the church, that leave the Adventist church. And I see there's plenty of those people around. There's a lot of ex-Adventists in the area who very much still believe in the same belief system and the same beliefs as the church, but don't really have a place for them in the church. And so I have an idea of maybe starting a church plant that focuses and brands itself as a church of refuge. This is kind of an idea from the Old Testament, but the short end of it is a place for a place for people that don't fit into normal Seventh Day Adventist churches, um, and yet still want to be good, if that makes sense. So I joke that it would be we call it the outlaw church, but that's not. I mean, that's not really the principle behind it. But I just wish there was a better way to serve a lot of those people that don't fit into the normal cookie cutter, like, yeah, religion. So, and like, I've been one of those people who, when I first came back to Christ, there was no place for me in the churches I used to go to, and all of a sudden, um, coming back into church was really hard for me, and I had to really go through a lot of transitions in order to make that, in order to find my way back to the church, back to my people, back to my community, and um, I know for some people, it's not their goal to get back to the community. It's their goal to stay in community connection with Christ. Well, I think community is one of, if not the best way to stay in connection with Christ. So, because if you're not contributing to other people and to a community, it's really hard to maintain your own faith. So, I think it's a great way to serve. I think it's a cool idea that could really flourish in this community and help a lot of people. But I'm not sure if necessarily I'm the right guy to do it. So, but those are the two ideas. One idea: become a real estate agent. Basically, I would write all morning and work on writing every single day. And then the second half of the day, after lunch, I would focus entirely on real estate. And if we could get to where we were selling a house every month or a house every other month, then I could really, I mean, yeah, I'd be making about as much money as Erica does, most likely at that point, if I can get to that point. So, yeah, if I were to sell uh, a house every other month, on average, based on the average prices of houses around here and how much real estate agents are making from those houses, uh, then I would probably make around, if not maybe a little bit less than what Erica makes per month. So, um, Mom said, just as a more realistic social setting, actually, those of us struggling emotionally, physically, and financially is more the norm. Yeah, that's often the case, especially in communities where that is the case. But the church I go to, um, if they are like that, they are hiding it. So there's no way to help them because there's no way to know. So that's kind of the interesting oddity of my particular community, and that's why I see this niche being hopefully helpful. But yeah, yeah, I do think that people struggling is definitely the norm, and I think we lose out on opportunity. We just lose out on an opportunity to serve if we are only serving the people that are doing just fine. So it feels kind of silly to serve the people that are doing just fine. So, yeah, and that's basically my idea. It's like, I would be curious to see if that was a niche that needs filling. But it's just an idea. Both of them are just ideas. The real estate one is the idea I've pursued more. I'm actually researching and like looking into how to do it and when to do it because I'll probably do it this fall as work slows down at my current job. Uh, Dad asks if I have enough outdoor space to have a garden. Yes, Dad, I have a grass garden. No, we have about 17 feet by 27 feet, if I remember right. And it's entirely dead, like dead, dead. It's been dead for years, neglected for years. So for us, we went in and we removed the foot or so of leaves and debris, and have started to grow grass in the backyard and a few other things. I've got different kinds of bushes basically all the way around the backyard.
some flowers and different things, and some cannas, which are really cool when they're coming up. And I had some ferns, but I'm not sure they're doing so well now that the heat has come out. So we'll see if the ferns can bounce back. But everything's I'm getting it watered every day and trying to take care of it. So Mom says, and I have been there and agree they are wonderful people. You did well walking on eggshells. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Texas is hard to grow things, but there are a lot of things that grow, and we're blessed to have a lot of shade. So a lot of the really harshness of the sun and the wind isn't nearly as much of a factor for our backyard as it is for a lot of people. So a nice shade garden is totally within the options for us. We already have some things that are thriving, like really taking off. So it's pretty cool. I mean, the cannas grow like 4 inches a day. It seems like, so they're doing good. I think they're not getting quite as much sun as they would like, which I think is why they probably haven't bloomed yet. But I think they'll do all right. I think they'll do well. So, yeah, yep. So let's get back to it. What was I even doing? What was I even doing? Oh, let's get this space cleared underneath of you. That's how I ended up sitting in this chair, which is how I ended up not doing anything for a little bit there. But I'm gonna pull some of this stuff out, and then I'm gonna clean up some of the wood chips. There's a lot of wood chips in this studio because of all the wood stuff that I do. But yeah, so there's a bunch of wood chips here, and I'm gonna try and clean those out. I'm gonna pull some of this stuff out. This can go with the bags, wherever the bags are. There's bags. When it comes to camping gear, I have a bag of bags. So any kind of bag goes in the same bag together. We've got a big duffel case that is always full of bags. You never know. Oh look, there's the throwing knives. I don't really have a place to store those yet. Over here, I guess. I don't know. We got the Hennessy hammock, which I wish I could get a new Hennessy hammock soon. It sounds like, because this one ripped, it sounds like we might be able to get one sometime, maybe this summer or something. I really enjoyed it, but even though at this stage in life, hammocks aren't my favorite way to sleep because there's two of us. Let's get this out of the way. We got hot packs, hand warmers. Which actually, I'm going to keep those in the car for emergencies or whatever. Let's pull these two out. One of the things I've noticed, or at least from talking to people, it sounds like when I've actually pushed people to tell me what the temperatures are usually like in the summertime, they don't sound all that different than Missouri. And in terms of the humidity, it doesn't seem anywhere near, not even close to as humid as Missouri was growing up. So I think the summer won't actually end up being as bad as I previously thought, based on what people told me. But the closer we get to summer, the more I'm beginning to realize that I think a lot of the people that struggle in the heat, it's because they struggle with their health, not because the heat is particularly harsh. So yeah. All right. So and then this can go in the bags. It's true. It's true, Mom. It's true, man. This is my little running / hunting backpack, which I don't actually use for hunting really, but not yet. Maybe someday I'll get into hunting. Although around here it's kind of funny. There's this thing called hunting leases, which is weird.
It doesn't make much sense to me. It sounds like something you'd have to do if you wanted to go hunting in the city and get a hunting lease. Go rent property to hunt. But whatever. Do what you gotta do. And also, like, what? Like, it does not seem like there are very many animals to hunt in Texas, or at least not this part of Texas. It seems like there's hardly anything here that's alive that you can hunt. I mean, I've only seen like maybe 4 deer since we've lived here. We've been here for over 6 months. That's crazy. I'm used to in Missouri where like you see a deer pretty much every day, or Idaho where you see like elk or deer at least 5 or 10 times a day. Like I'm just people talk about hunting a lot more here than anywhere else I've ever lived, and yet I don't know what they're hunting. Like I don't like there's nothing out here. Like you can drive through the woods all day and you won't see a single thing except for maybe a skunk. But fair enough. I mean, if you eat skunk, you eat skunk. I get it. Do what you gotta do. But, sure. Probably tastes good as long as you get it before it sprays you. I think a lot of the hunting around here seems like it's probably like hunting your own, what belongs to you, farming your own animals to hunt. Which, I mean, fair enough. They're yours. So do what you want. Don't do what you gotta do. But it is what it is. All right. I don't have a broom. I'm gonna use my hands like a weirdo, or at least like me. I feel like I should go get a broom, or I could just get it done and go get the. The reality is, by the time I go get the broom and come back in here with the broom, I could have already had it done without the broom. That's the thing. I feel like that happens all the time. Where like I'm at work, and they're like, "Oh, we don't have the right shovel, or we don't have the right rake," and so they go to get the right rake. And by the time they've gone and gotten the right rake or the right shovel, I've already finished it with my hands. Like you, it's like cool. Now you have the right tool, but also the job is already done. So I think there's a lot of times in life where like we want to have the right tool, or we want to have use the most efficient process, but it's like how often could you have just done it less efficiently and gotten it done sooner if you had just been willing to work up like 2% harder? Like you know what I mean? It's like I don't know. That's why I always say when people say work smarter, not harder, I always correct them. No, work smarter and harder. Mom says shark hunting. Well, I'm still 4 hours from the ocean, but if there was a shark around here, I bet people would hunt it. I would hunt it. Heck, that sounds exciting. So, all right. My hammer. All right. Well, it's almost 50 minutes, and I'm pretty sure there's Domino's pizza waiting for me outside that door. So, I'm a thinking, we're getting near the end of it. I'm glad to have had you guys. We had I think we had 5 people on here at one point today, which would be our recent record. So I'm gonna try and find a way to make a thumbnail real quick. There we go. Something like that. Something simple with a smile and pointing to what the main thing, the main visual thing that happened today. And then I'm gonna say thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. Thanks to you guys that are patrons. I appreciate that a lot. That's yeah, it's huge. It means a lot, and it means a lot that you're willing to support this in any way, or that you even watch. So I'm glad everybody's here. I can't wait to talk to you guys again next week. Um, yeah, yeah. So trying to think if there's anything else I should tell you about. I don't think so. I do have some stuff coming up, some stuff coming down the pipe I'm excited about, but one step at a time. So, all right. Well, you guys have a good week. Hit that bell, stay well, and I'll see you next Tuesday at 6:06.